right, everyone, let's get started making our drawing app. I guess we'll just get started with some basic stuff at the beginning. We're going to have to create a couple of small details, and we'll get started with that. I'll zoom in a bit so you can see the font better. First detail is the background color. That's going to be important because we're going to be able to change that. And as you learn from the lessons, it's app.background. You can make it whatever you want to make it. To begin your project, if you want to make it all black, you can do that. But I'll keep it basic for now and have a nice white, clean page to begin. We're also going to be making a group. So a group is a collection of shapes, but we're going to start it as an empty group. And it's going to collect the lines that we draw and the stamps that we draw as well. So I'm going to call it canvas. And it's just going to be an empty group. I'm just going to say, group. There's nothing in it yet, but it's there now for us to add to. I also going to make a cursor. Now you can design your cursor however you want to make it. Mine's just going to be a circle for now, but if you want to design it to look like a brush, actually I like the word brush instead of cursor. I'm going to call it brush. So my brush is going to be a circle, and we'll just start the circle at the some place in the screen. It doesn't really matter. I'll make the radius some default number. I'll make it big enough for you to see. Probably you don't want to make it so big, but I think that's fine. And I'm going to say the fill color is going to be black for now. And what the brush will do was allow us to sort of store what is the current color that we're drawing with. It'll also be able to store some other information too. And so I'm going to make a custom property for the brush to remember where the mouse was. You already know we have mouse X and mouse Y available. So I'm going to call this custom property P mouse X. And I'm just going to set that to 0 and P mouse Y. So these variables are going to represent where the mouse was the last step. As you know, animation or a program is kind of the timeline is a series of steps, and mouse X is where the mouse is in this current step. But when we draw our squiggly line, we're actually connecting a bunch of lines together from where the mouse was to where the mouse is now. So I'm going to remember where the mouse was. Okay, so that's our kind of beginning startup. We have our brush, we have our canvas, and the app. The screen is going to be white to begin with. So, nothing too exciting yet. So let's actually go now and make it so we can draw a line. Like when we click and drag, I'd like to see it like make a line as you go through it. So I'm going to use on mouse drag, which takes mouse X and mouse Y as parameters. And the idea behind mouse drag is this code inside of this function will execute when you're clicking and moving the mouse. So that's perfect time to draw a line. So what we'll do is we'll use a line, and I'm going to say, line. And the line's going to be drawn from where the mouse was to where the mouse is. So that's going to look like this. So it's going to be drawn from the brush's previous mouse X and the brush's previous mouse Y, and we'll draw it to the current mouse X and mouse Y. I think I will just use fill as the brush's fill, so I can do brush.fill, and I guess I'll just use a default line width right now. I'll just say, actually I don't know, I'll say line width equals brush dot radius. Ooh, I ran out of room. You guys can't see that. Brush dot radius. This is gonna be a nice fat line. And the reason why I want to use sort of these brush properties is because if I change the brush, then I will change the drawing. I'll change the quality of the line. So I can now change things like the brush's fill color to change the line's fill. I can also change the brush's radius to make the line bigger or smaller. But you know what? I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm gonna keep this pretty small. I'm gonna keep this down to 2. We'll come back to that later on. I'll explain why that is. It actually looks a little bit ugly if we don't do extra work later on. And then this is fine. Like we could see a line being drawn, but I want to add it to the canvas. So I'm just gonna call this a new line, and then I'm gonna say canvas.add new line. And although this line would have worked, we would have seen lines, This will allow us to do some future things. For example, clear the screen. We can delete everything that's in the group, or if we want to do an undo feature, we can sort of remove things from this group one at a time. So I think that's going to be a good place. And then last but not least, we want to be able to say brush.pmousex equals mousex. So we're just going to update the mouse so basically remembering where the mouse is this step, so that next step we can remember where it was last step. So I'm just going to save pmousey as mouse y. I don't know. What do you think? Let's see what's going on. We'll go over here and run it. And if I have a problem. Ooh, look at that. I missed a comma. There we go. Okay, let's try again. Run. Okay, it's working. And oh no, the cursor's not following the mouse. So I guess we need a little bit more. That's going to be an on-mouse move. So although we could click and drag, I don't think it's really going to do a lot for us. Well, I guess it is kind of working. We are getting a line. That looks okay. But I think we should put an on-mouse move here. So let's go to def. I'll zoom in. On-mouse move. And that's also going to have mouse X and mouse Y. And what I'll do is I'll get the brush to kind of follow the mouse. So I can just say brush.center X equals mouse X. And I'm just going to copy that and paste it and just change it to Y. Okay, so now the brush actually will follow the mouse. So if I run that, let's see. Oh, look at that. The mouse follows. Oh, but the line's working, but it's for some reason, that's weird, it doesn't follow. So these are the small problems that we have to kind of solve. You might wonder why that is. So the reason is because even though the mouse is moving, right? When we're clicking and dragging, the mouse is moving, but it's the mouse drag function that takes over. So it's not a big deal, but I think we'll just stick, we'll stick this code here as well. I think that'll be good. Either that, or I guess we could use an on-step function. That could work too, to just constantly make it go there. So I guess you can decide what you want to do. Maybe I'll make mine, I guess we need mouse X and mouse Y, so on-step wouldn't work too well. So let's just copy this as well to mouse drag. All right. Okay, so we solved all our problems. Are we getting close? Let's run. Okay, so, hey, now the brush is going. That's good. So I like where we're going now. But we still have a few more problems. The brush kind of follows our mouse. But notice that when we click, it jumps. The line jumps. Even when we begin, if we want to start painting here, the line jumps from 0, 0. So that's a little bit awkward. So the easiest way to fix that is when we click the mouse, let's update the mouse X, previous mouse X and previous mouse Y. So we'll put in def on mouse press, and we can say, we can say when we press the mouse, we'll update the coordinates. So that's here. We'll just paste that in there. So let's just update where the mouse was to start when we click, so that it doesn't remember where we left off in our last drawing, or it doesn't remember the 0, 0. I think that'll work out nicely. Let's see. So we'll run, and we'll click and drag, nice, and then we click and drag, nice. Okay, so now we got kind of a drawing tool. What am I drawing? I'm not sure what this is. It's like a potato, I guess. We have potato drawing software that we've created. So this is where we'll stop the video. I think I'll just quickly remind you what's going on. What we have is a brush, and you can design your brush however you want to. It is going to keep track of things like the current drawing color, and it'll keep track of where the mouse was, so that you can draw a line between where it was and where it is. That's what creates that line as we go. As we click and drag, the line actually is a bunch of lines. Next, we have an on-mouse press. That's going to update where the mouse thinks it was whenever we click. So when we start a new line. The mouse drag is the most interesting part of this. We make the brush follow us, and then we also draw a line, and the line code here is probably the most complicated thing we did. It draws it from where the mouse was to where the mouse is. It's going to use the brush's color, and later on we'll play with the line width stuff. And then we add it to the canvas, and that's what gets shown on the screen. And then of course we update where the mouse was. And then last but not least, we also have the on mouse move, and that's updating the brush's position. And we do it here because when we're not clicking and dragging, the brushes still follow with us. When I was practicing, I probably made my brush a lot smaller, like 3 or something, just so it's not so like overpowering. It looks a little nicer that way. But I think it'll work out pretty well either way. Okay, so that's the good beginning. If you have your interface already kind of designed and built in, then I think you're in good shape. All right, take a look at the next video to find out about how to add in buttons that will make colors, at least it possible to change the color of your line that you're drawing. Okay, thanks everybody.